Well, hello and welcome to Business Basics with Action Coach Campus. My name is Lee Iben. I'm the chief cook and bottle washer, and today we're going to talk with Tim Egli. Tim owns EGLI Landscaping down in Wayland. Hey, Tim, how are you?
Doing great. Thanks for the
Good,
invite.
good. Yeah, well, it's our pleasure, believe me. So, Tim, landscaping. Now, this time of year, busy or not so busy?
We are actually very busy internally.
Yes.
We're constantly trying to get better with our processes and systems and so forth. So we're working internally harder than we have in the past, just because of what the last year has brought upon us.
Right.
But yeah, there's a lot going on behind closed doors, as they say. So,
it may be frozen outside, but not so much on the inside, right, Tim?
that's correct.
I love it. So tell me, how did you get started in this whole thing?
It actually started as kind of I don't know if you want to call it a hobby. It was more of a pastime as a child. I grew up on a dairy farm north of Lockridge, Iowa. And I was the kid that was out digging up trees out of the woods and bringing them back to the farm and planting them on the farm. I knew more about trees than most people could dream of before I even got into high school. And it's just been a passion of mine for honestly most of my life. And I didn't even know that there was even businesses out there that did landscaping. I didn't, growing up on a dairy farm, I kind of consider myself as we were kind of closed off to the rest of the world.
Right.
And I found ourselves, we were having some challenges on the dairy farm. And so I decided to venture into finding the local landscape company in Fairfield, and started working for them through the summer of '96, would have been the year I graduated. I worked there for that summer, fell in love with it, and ended up going and playing a couple of years of football. But I always found myself kind of falling back to the landscaping side of things. And in a roundabout way, went to college for it for 2 years at Kirkwood. Knew that I wanted to have my own business. I didn't quite know what it looked like, but through a couple of internships, decided to take the dive, and here we are about 18 years later. So
wow, that's a success story. And you stay busy. I mean, you're busy all over, right? You're in Wayland, so how far out do you go from where you're located?
We typically are telling the customers around 50-mile radius. However, last year we did do a project as far away as Cedar Rapids. We were up there for quite a while. We've done the Sigourney Hospital years ago. So I mean, it all depends on what we're getting involved in and the depth that's going to be needed. The manpower, as well as the level of detail being needed. So we are somewhat choosy what we do. We try to do as much as we can for people, but we're not what we call a turnkey business. So we don't supply everything, but what we do supply is more of the design, install side of things, and maintaining the investment for the customer. But in the end, we tell people 50-mile radius, but it depends on what we're dealing with. So.
Yeah. And do you guys help out with the design element of it, Tim, or do you want them to bring that design to you already completed? How do you guys like to handle that?
We prefer to be actually at the very beginning. We want to be a part of the plan. So if you're thinking about building a house, for example, one of the things we do see that gets neglected in that process is actually the landscaping. So after many years of preaching and speaking in different scenarios, we're now getting more and more people that are calling us when the blueprint is being designed for the house so that they can include it into their budget. With the house build, it doesn't come as often as I wish, but it's never too early to start with that planning side of things for the landscaping. Yeah, we prefer to be in at the beginning of the design of the plan, because everything begin with the end in mind, as Stephen Covey says. So I'm a firm believer that you want to start with a plan, and then we have a process from that point on. Yeah,
absolutely. Love the Stephen Covey reference too, by the way. Yeah. And I'm sure, myself included, right? You see these do-it-yourself projects, and because everybody believes what they see on TV for the big box stores, and you can do this yourself. And so the guy wakes up on a Saturday morning and says, "Yeah, hon, I can do this. I can take care of this." And then eventually they call in you, right?
Yes.
And you drive into the driveway and go, "Oh my Lord."
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure
we've definitely been on a few of those, and sometimes I feel like I've become a marriage counselor at moments because of those experiences.
Absolutely.
But in the end, we try to do the best with what they have. We try to help them understand the difference between us and, say, the box store options. We do have, we bring a value that not a lot of companies are doing right now. And, you know, we aren't what I call the cheapest company around, but it's because of what we're doing internally and what we do after the job has been completed. That's where I feel we're separating ourselves.
So do you mean to tell me, Tim, there's more involved than just buying some retaining wall bricks at the local big box, just going home and just stacking them? Is there more involved?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Sometimes even engineers get involved. So it depends on what,
Amazing.
I built houses for a couple of years. I kind of skipped over that. And when you were asking where I came from, and part of my experience was building houses for 3 years. And then I was doing landscaping on the weekends. So I'm a firm believer that the foundation of everything is critical. So now that I have that experience, when I go to a house that's either just been built or it's been around for 100 years, I know what to look for in foundation challenges, grading challenges. Why do you have a wet basement? So it's a lot more than just planting a couple of plants out there off to the side or just adding a shade tree in somebody's yard. There's truly a lot more to it than just going to the box store, as you said.
Well, absolutely. And as you mentioned with the Stephen Covey reference, start with the end in mind. If they can say, I want flowers, and you can say, okay, well, at what length do we want flowers? All the way down the sides of the driveway, or what kind of flower bed are we looking for? What kind of materials are we after? Are we looking for, limestone blocks? Are we looking for something in a wood type of a setting? And getting more clarity on the front end just brings more success to the entire project.
Absolutely. Through our website, we have photos, of jobs that we've completed. Part of our process is once the design is done, we ask the customers to come to the office, and we have basically a presentation that we take them through. We have PowerPoints of projects that we've done, pictures of the materials that we're going to be trying to use on our project. Basically, if we always want to have samples of the projects here or of the products here, so they can touch them, feel them, understand why this paver patio costs more than, say, a regular concrete patio that somebody would pour just out of a concrete truck.
Right.
Helping them understand the value that we're trying to bring to them, and why a paver system we feel is better than a concrete patio, because it's basically a repairable system rather than, concrete gets hard and it cracks. You live with it or you have to replace it. So we have those types of conversations during that meeting.
Right. I love it. I love it. And, so tell me, what is it, would you say that makes you guys unique in the landscaping business?
Unique. That's kind of a loaded question, because I got to be careful.
As politically correct as you can. How about that?
Well, first of all, we're very passionate. I've got guys that have been working with me for over 14 years. Yep. So we have tenure underneath us. We have people that are very, very good at doing water features. We have guys that are absolutely top of the line professionals in our paver patios, our walls, our outdoor kitchens. If we don't do a certain thing, we find the professional to have them involved in that process, whether it's the plumber or the electrician, those types of things. One of the things that I'm really working hard internally is communication. Just from when the phone call doesn't come to me specifically, it goes to my office person, my office manager. My office manager takes all the information from them, puts them into a core type of an area, CRM, so to speak.
Right.
And that has all the information that we need from them. So when I get the message to call Mrs. Smith, for example, back, I now know what she is looking for. I've also got a blueprint of their property, of their house for their property. I may have a plat of survey of their property. I may have already zoomed. I'm not trying to get too personal, but I want to know as much information about that property before I get there and have a meeting with them, because the time I spend with them, I want it to be valuable, and I want them to understand that we're for real. And there's a lot to that process going into it. So, we aren't the cheapest because of that value that we're bringing. So how do we separate ourselves? We're not going to just come in and draw something on a piece of a napkin and say, here you go, this is going to cost you $3K. No, there's going to be an itemized breakdown to what there's going to be. There's going to be an agreement that we draw up. There's going to be a design that comes with that. There's going to be a plan. There's going to be a schedule of install. There's going to be a follow-up after the job is done. You know, it's all part of that, you know, process that we have in place. So
yeah. And that is the right answer. What makes you unique are the people that you have on staff, and then having real clarity on what you can do and what you can't do.
yes.
You know what? And being fully say, look, we can't do that plumbing aspect of it. We're not licensed plumbers per se, so we got to call in somebody else. And you know, here are the 3 people we'd probably recommend. We've worked with them before. Their work is solid, just like ours.
Yes.
And that's where we start.
Well, we always want to find people that are in the same line of values as what we are. You know, that's what I've spent a lot of years and a lot of meetings working with other contractors, just taking them out to lunch and getting to know them to make sure that they're lined up with us. And, you know, from that standpoint, that's critical to us.
Absolutely. Absolutely critical. All right. So final question. Somebody that's thinking about going into business for themselves. You've done it. I've done it. What's your take? What's the piece of advice that you would give to somebody thinking about, oh, I got this great idea. I have this passion I want to follow. What do you recommend?
I think this is an awesome question. Looking back, knowing what I know now, I'm a firm believer in getting a peer coach, some sort of a coach. Michael Jordan had 2 or 3 different types of coaches. It wasn't just a basketball coach. You know, there's the professional golfers always had multiple coaches. You know, so I guess getting a peer coach, somebody that's in your kind of that field that you have an interest in, even if you're taking you know, and I don't want to digress too much on this, but I want to share the story because I really think that it helps with this answering this question. I met a young man, graduated from high school 2 years ago, still didn't know what to do with his life. Great parents, you know, had a great home and everything, but I said, well, what do you want to do? And he's like, well, I don't know. And I said, well, are you going to go to college? And he goes, I don't know. And I said, well, what do you have an interest in? What's your passion in? He goes, HVAC. I said, really? I said, okay. I said, your first assignment coming for me is go find the best HVAC company that you can think of right now, or that you know your friends or your family's working with, and you take that owner out to lunch. I said, so where am I going with that? It's about finding somebody that you can call up and lean on and help you with. And if you're just taking them out to lunch once a month, that can do it. Obviously, I mean, I could go on and on about answering this question, but you got to have somebody that's going to tell you what you need to know, not what you want to know. Right. Because you may want to know how to charge, but you may need to know that, hey, you got to do this process or this step first before you're going to get to that.
Absolutely.
And not only that, they're going to give you real world experience, that what they've been through, the trials and the errors, the crying nights, the sleepless nights, and everything else.
What, you too?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, Tim, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And if anybody wants to look into landscaping, they need some landscaping, we all do. Just ask your wife. Look up Tim at EGLILandscapes.com. Is that right?
Yeah. Yep. That's our website.
Down at Wayland. Take a look at the work that they've done. You'll be impressed. I was impressed when I saw it. So Tim, thank you very much for being here.
Oh, I appreciate the opportunity.
You bet. You bet.